ChatGPT. We've all used it, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder how it actually works? Today, we are going to peek under the hood and break down this surprisingly simple idea at the heart of this incredibly complex technology.
Aholic Lab. Pause and grab. Aholic Lab.
It all starts with something you already know. Think about Netflix, how it's always trying to predict the next show you are going to watch. At its core, ChatGPT is doing exact same thing, but just on a much smaller scale. It's simply trying to predict the next most likely word in a sentence. That's it. That's the fundamental idea. Official term for this is large language model, or LLM. The name itself already gives away the secret. It's not a system built to know things or to understand things the way a person does. It's a system trained to do one thing and one thing only: predict text. So how does it learn to predict? It's kind of like a recipe, and it starts with the first key ingredient: data. And I don't mean just a little bit of data. We are talking about the training library so vast, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The model was trained by reading a huge chunk of the internet: books, articles, websites, endless conversations. It processed all these texts to learn the relationship between words. The goal was never for the AI to remember everything like some giant encyclopedia. The goal was to learn the patterns, how sentences are built, which words usually follow others, and how ideas connect. Okay, so you've got all this data, the massive library, but it's useless without an engine to process it. That brings us to the second key ingredient, a really powerful piece of tech that makes sense of your questions. That engine is called the transformer. This is a special sauce. It's the architecture that acts as a bridge between your prompts, the prompts you are typing, and the trillions of patterns the AI learned from the global library. But how does it know which pattern to look for? You can think of it like a giant intelligence spotlight. When you give it a prompt, the transformer shines that spotlight on the most important words in your request. Then it scans its massive web of learned patterns to find connections. Once it finds the most relevant ones, it makes a prediction for what the very next word should be. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is the part where you play the most important role: context. Imagine you give ChatGPT a super simple, totally context-free prompt. It's just a direct command, no background info at all. In return, you'll get exactly what you've asked for: a direct single-word translation. Correct? Yes. But shallow. With no other details to go on, the model can only match the most basic patterns. But now watch what happens when we add just a little context. Look at this prompt. We are asking for the same basic thing, but now we've given its crucial details. The audience is 10-year-old, and the language is Hebrew. And boom, the result is completely different. The answer suddenly becomes simpler, more explanatory, even conversational. It might even throw the pronunciation guide or use the word in a simple sentence. This shows so clearly how context shapes everything: the tone, the detail, the style of the answer. So now we have our three ingredients: the massive library of data, the powerful model to sort through it, and your context to guide it. Let's put it all together. What is the AI actually doing when it generates text word by word? This is probably the biggest aha moment. The AI isn't accessing some big bank of knowledge. It doesn't know a single thing. It's running on a pure probability. At every step, the model calculates the likelihood of what should come next. If you start a sentence with the sky is, the model calculates an overwhelmingly high probability that the next word is blue, a super low probability for green, and almost zero for toaster. Then it picks the most probable word, adds it to the sentence, and repeats the whole process again and again. That's why using ChatGPT can feel so strange, because it's just linking patterns. It can sometimes produce something that feels like pure brilliance, but since it doesn't actually know what it's saying, it can also be confidently and completely wrong, stringing together words that sound plausible but are totally made up. So let's zoom out and look at the big picture. You can think of the entire system as a recipe for a pattern matching machine. Start with the global training data, global library. Add a powerful model, the transformer spotlight, to find the right connection. Mix in your specific context, the question you ask. And here is the single most important takeaway. ChatGPT is not a brain. It's not thinking. It's a highly sophisticated, world-sized pattern machine. What feels like a real conversation, what seems like actual knowledge, is ultimately just mathematical probability dressed up to look like a human language. It's an incredibly powerful and useful illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. And that leaves us with a fascinating final question. If a machine can manipulate language this well, just by matching patterns, what does that tell about our own intelligence? What does it truly mean to understand?